Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. We are deep within the Abyssal Corridor, and the path to the Eclipse Pillar has just become a crushing nightmare. In our last episode, Jian Wushuang fought through the absolute zero domain of Sovereign Frost, but the victory was short-lived. The very air around the rebel fleet is starting to feel like lead. Today, we face the weight of the heavens. Chapters 241 through 245 introduce the second of the three Primal Sovereigns, Sovereign Atlas, the master of gravity. With a wave of his hand, Atlas increases the gravitational pull of the corridor 1,000-fold, pinning the rebel ships against the star bridge and threatening to crush Wushuang's bones into dust. To survive, Wushuang must achieve weightlessness of the soul, a state where his sword Dao transcends physical mass. But even if he reaches Atlas, the Sovereign has a secret: his body is a living black hole. The pressure is on. Chapter 241 starts right now. Chapter 241. The Nine Emperors Sect is finished. Run! Run now! The forlorn, shrill voices rang out in succession. The surviving Gold Core Realm experts of the Nine Emperors Sect madly ran away like extremely frightened birds, while the experts of the Raindrop Pavilion seized the opportunity to hunt them down. Ha ha, where are you going? Since you have come, stay here. You said you would make our Raindrop Pavilion disappear. Ha ha, I think your Nine Emperors Sect should disappear now. The experts of the Raindrop Pavilion were excited and unwilling to give up the opportunity to trample them. The Nine Emperors Sect was a top sect, but with their 5 Yin-Yang Void Realm experts killed by Jian Wushuang, the Nine Emperors Sect lost their battle strength and could no longer stand up to the Raindrop Pavilion. The battlefield was a mess. After he killed the last Yin Void expert, Jian Wushuang stayed suspended in the air but stopped attacking. He had no interest in warriors at the exceptional Gold Core Realm. After a while, the whole battlefield went still. More than half of the experts of the Nine Emperors Sect had been killed. Although a small number of them were lucky enough to escape, it would not change anything because their top experts had all been killed. After this fight, the Nine Emperors Sect would fall into decline. The Nine Emperors Sect is finished. A green-robed elder, who hid in the dark, was sighing because of what happened. Why? A teenager beside the green-robed elder asked in surprise. Because of Jian Wushuang? Just him? Just him. The green-robed elder nodded. Recently, the Nine Emperors Sect had suffered a lot because of Jian Wushuang. They had just recovered, but bumped into Jian Wushuang again. This time they lost their strongest warriors. The Nine Emperors Sect doesn't have a single Yin Void expert anymore. How could they rank in the 3 sects and 4 schools of Qiannan Province? Even without the attack from Jian Wushuang and the Raindrop Pavilion, it wouldn't have been long before the Nine Emperors Sect disappeared. After hearing this, the teenager said, with a flicker of complex emotion in his eyes, "It turns out that it's possible for someone to trample a large sect if he is powerful enough." These 3 from the Ouyang clan still stood nearby, above the tall building. Kuya of Blood Feather Tower. The elegant man looked serious. Kuya had reached the exceptional Yang Void Realm, close to the peak, and was almost strong enough to be on the Heavenly Dragon list. In our Ouyang clan, there are less than 3 people who are qualified to fight against him. Only our clan leader could defeat him. Jian Wushuang killed Kuya with only 1 stroke after that surge of power. The elegant man squinted and pondered over it for a while. Then he suddenly looked at Xianxia and said, "Xianxia, tell me what Jian Wushuang said when you fought with him." Xianxia had already fallen into shock. He did not recover from it until the elegant man called him. When he saw the hint of coldness in his eyes, Xianxia was scared and immediately spoke. Jian Wushuang said that from now on the Ouyang clan has nothing to do with the Raindrop Pavilion. If our Ouyang clan is not convinced, you can go find him. That's it? The elegant man looked awful. He said that if the Ouyang clan wanted to help the Nine Emperors Sect in this fight, he would not mind slaughtering the Ouyang clan. Xianxia replied with a slight sense of terror. The elegant man breathed a sigh of relief. Jian Wushuang does not like our Ouyang clan, but he will not attack us, the elegant man said in a low voice. The Ouyang clan had a grudge against Jian Wushuang. In the Qianzong Dynasty selection battle, Jian Wushuang had killed Ouyang Haoqian and Ouyang Haoyue, the 2 geniuses of the Ouyang clan, so the Ouyang clan had harbored hatred towards Jian Wushuang. Now the elegant man was not thinking about how to fight Jian Wushuang, but he was deliberating about whether Jian Wushuang really hated and would attack the Ouyang clan. He did not dare to think about how to deal with Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's strength had reached a terrifying level. He was only 20 years old, yet he already had such achievements. If given several years, he could easily slaughter the Ouyang clan. Xianxia. The elegant man stared at Xianxia with wide eyes and coldly said, "Listen, from now on, treat the people of the Raindrop Pavilion politely. Recently, it is not peaceful in the Qianzong dynasty. If you piss off a powerful opponent, you will definitely be punished by the clan." "Yes, yes." Xianxia nodded, without hesitation. The battle was over. The 9 Emperors sect was defeated. Although they suffered a great loss, the Raindrop Pavilion had gained more because they became famous throughout the whole Qianzong dynasty. In a secret chamber of the headquarters of the Raindrop Pavilion, Jian Wushuang sat by the round table with the excited Tang Wuji. The several foreign experts respectfully stood behind them while glancing at Jian Wushuang from time to time. Their eyes were full of admiration and worship. This black-robed youth killed the strongest warriors in the 9 Emperors sect by himself and even killed an expert in the exceptional Yang Void Realm. He saved the Raindrop Pavilion. Now they understood why Jian Wushuang dared to say such words 2 days ago. "How many did we lose?" Jian Wushuang glanced at Tang Wuji and asked. "Not bad. I lost quite a few Gold Core Realm warriors, but none of the guests in the Yin Void Realm died." Tang Wuji smiled and said, "In spite of these losses, our Raindrop Pavilion became famous through this battle. Especially with you, boss, it's only a matter of time before we take the place of the 9 Emperors sect and became a top force in the Qianzong dynasty. Don't count on me." Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes towards Tang Wuji and continued, "I just helped you this time. I don't care what level your Raindrop Pavilion reaches." Tang Wuji could only shrug his shoulder. He really wanted Jian Wushuang to stay in the Raindrop Pavilion. He was even willing to give him his position as Pavilion Master. If he stayed here, the Raindrop Pavilion would become more and more powerful. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang had no such plan. On that day, Jian Wushuang left the Raindrop Pavilion and went to the Golden Dragon Palace. Chapter 242, The Furious Blood Feather Tower. In the cellar of a Golden Dragon subsidiary palace, a purple-clothed middle-aged man respectfully stood in front of Jian Wushuang. "Sir, this is the most detailed information we have regarding each stronghold of Blood Feather Tower in the Qianzong dynasty. Palace Master White ordered me to give this to you." "Palace Master White?" Jian Wushuang glanced at it and began thumbing through it. It didn't take him long to finish reading it. Blood Feather Tower keeps a low profile. Even Golden Dragon Palace, the best at collecting information, could only find 38 strongholds. Jian Wushuang squinted. Of the 38 strongholds, 11 were large ones and the others consisted of insignificant small ones. "Sir, Palace Master White asked me to remind you to be careful," the purple-clothed middle-aged man said with respect. Jian Wushuang could not help smiling and slowly moved his hands towards his interspatial ring. "The sword spirit of my triple-kill sword has just awakened, and its power hasn't reached the peak, so it needs to kill. I'll start with the strongholds of Blood Feather Tower." Using the remaining part of the day, Jian Wushuang traveled to one of the large strongholds of Blood Feather Tower. He spent less than 15 minutes at the first stronghold and then moved on to the next one. The strongholds Golden Dragon Palace found were spread throughout the whole Qianzong dynasty. Although some of them were far away from each other, Jian Wushuang was an expert at the peak of the Yin Void Realm. He could void walk at an amazing speed and travel through the provinces. 3 days. Jian Wushuang had destroyed 13 of the Blood Feather Tower strongholds in the last 3 days. The 5 large strongholds and 8 small ones practically disappeared. Most of the assassins in the strongholds were killed by Jian Wushuang, except the few that ran away. Jian Wushuang even had killed 7 Yin Void Realm experts in these 3 days. Just 3 days. It was a horrible massacre. It was a crazy massacre. Blood Feather Tower became furious. The lair of Blood Feather Tower lay in an unknown great canyon. In the center of the canyon stood a grand blood-red tower. The tower had 9 splendid floors. At the top of the tower, a figure who wore a blood-red robe and a wicked blood-red mask stood in front of a fence, with his hands behind his back. He looked out towards the boundless sky. 2 elders stood by the 2 sides of the figure, one with white hair and a beard, while the other had black hair and sword-like eyebrows. Jian Wushuang killed Kuya. The figure in the blood-red robe slowly opened his mouth and spoke in an evil tone. No one could tell if this person was male or female. Jian Wushuang, when I gave the scarlet kill command, he was just a boy who was not even in the spiritual sea realm. Our Blood Feather Tower has tried to assassinate him, but he always survived and became stronger. Now, he has even killed one of our experts in the exceptional Yang Void realm. If he is given several years, won't he easily destroy our Blood Feather Tower? Let alone Blood Feather Tower, I'm afraid that Holy Emperor Palace will not be his match. No one could read the emotion from the figure in blood-red robe's voice. The 2 elders behind were frightened. Jian Wushuang must die. We cannot give him any more chances. This time I will personally fight, the figure in blood-red robe said. What? The 2 elders were startled. One of them instantly spoke. Tower Master, Jian Wushuang improved greatly, but he is not so strong that you need to attack him yourself. Not strong enough? The figure in the blood-red robe snorted and looked at the elder with the black hair coldly. The elder felt as if his breath stopped, then cold sweat formed on his forehead. If you look down on Jian Wushuang right now, you're really idiots. I've got news that Jian Wushuang did not have the upper hand when fighting with Kuya, because he has hidden his strength. After releasing his full power, he overwhelmed and killed Kuya with only 1 stroke. He killed an expert in the exceptional Yang Void realm. What does that mean? If both of you fight with him, do you have the confidence to defeat him? Don't forget that Jian Wushuang has quite a few aces up his sleeve. His strength could improve at an amazing speed, the figure in the blood-red robe said. The 2 elders frowned slightly. Blood Feather Tower had been watching Jian Wushuang for long, so they naturally knew his aces. They all knew that Jian Wushuang had a method to greatly improve his strength in a short amount of time. However, Jian Wushuang had not used that ability when he killed Kuya. Tower Master, Jian Wushuang knows a lot about our Blood Feather Tower. Moreover, he is sly. He often changed his direction between destroying strongholds. He is so strong that we could not catch up with him and figure out his exact position, the elder with the sword-like brows said. Why shall we go looking for him? He will come to us on his own, the blood-red robed figure said with a cold smile. I originally planned to start this 3 months from now, but I have to bring it out early in order to deal with Jian Wushuang. That thing? The 2 elders raised their brows, with a flicker of craftiness in their eyes. They certainly knew what that thing was. Jian Nantian has been in our hands. Now he's useless to our Blood Feather Tower, as well as Holy Emperor Palace. Since that's the case, let's use him to draw in Jian Wushuang. Go, spread the news. As for the date, it's the 18th of next month. There's a month left. Next month, white snow will fall. It is a good time for killing. The figure in blood-red robe laughed. His body was emitting a surge of natural aura which was superior to that of the yin-yang void realm, and it was as if he was a focus point for heaven and earth. The 2 elders who felt his aura had a flicker of mania appear in their eyes. Then the 2 of them immediately left to carry out their task. Chapter 243, Bombshell. Jian Wushuang madly started the massacre, which aroused the attention of each force in the Qianzhong dynasty. The experts of these forces were shocked and expected a reaction from Blood Feather Tower. Not only were they overlords in Qianzhong dynasty, Blood Feather Tower was also an assassin organization, famous for its barbarity. Faced with such crazy provocation, Blood Feather Tower would strike back without a doubt. As expected, on the 4th day after Jian Wushuang began the slaughter, Blood Feather Tower dropped a bombshell. It was a blood-red invitation sent to every force in the Qianzhong dynasty. The forces with a good reputation all received this invitation at this time. The words on the invitation caused a sensation in the Qianzhong dynasty. The invitation read, I'm Qi Luosheng, Tower Master of Blood Feather Tower, ranked 2nd on the Heavenly Dragon list. I have been at the peak of the Yang Void realm for dozens of years. Half a year ago, I achieved divine transcendence. Therefore, I invite you to celebrate with me on Heartless Island on the 18th of next month. The invitation mentioned that Blood Feather Tower would put Jian Nantian to death, as a sacrifice to heaven, during the party. After receiving the invitation, all of Qianzong dynasty immediately fell into a heated discussion. Divine Transcendence. The Tower Master of Blood Feather Tower had reached divine transcendence? Since the Qianzong dynasty began, a second supreme expert of divine transcendence finally appeared. Innumerable people were shocked. It seemed like the yin-yang void realm was only one step away from divine transcendence. In fact, the level of divine transcendence was much higher than that of the yin-yang void realm. It was hard to reach it. There were many experts and geniuses stuck at this step. Di Shi, who was ranked number 1 on the Heavenly Dragon list, still remained at the peak of the Yang void realm. He had shocked the Qianzong dynasty with his incredible strength and ranked first on the Heavenly Dragon list for dozens of years, but he had not reached divine transcendence. Now, the Tower Master of Blood Feather Tower, who rarely showed up or fought with others, had quietly made a breakthrough and become the second person to reach divine transcendence in the history of the Qianzong dynasty. This news rocked the Qianzong dynasty. Quite a few experts were somewhat surprised that Jian Nantian would be executed. Jian Nantian, who is he? Which Jian Nantian? I haven't heard of him before. Why would Blood Feather Tower want to put him to death on that day? Ha ha, Jian Nantian was once an extremely powerful figure. No one knows why Blood Feather Tower wanted to kill him. Jian Nantian had something to do with the Ji clan, one of the 8 clans. It's said that the Ji clan was destroyed by Blood Feather Tower because of Jian Nantian. Jian Nantian is Jian Wushuang's father. Jian Wushuang's father? That's right. It's being called an execution, but I think it was a trap set by Blood Feather Tower. They want to force Jian Wushuang to show up by using Jian Nantian. How vicious. A large number of experts kept sighing while thinking about it. All the forces who had received this invitation responded by saying they would go to the Heartless Island on time. In the Dragon Palace, it's a trap. This is a trap. Palace Master White's pretty face was somewhat distorted, with a flicker of coldness in her eyes. Indeed, it's a trap. Palace Master Black nodded. Palace Master White said in a low voice, Jian Wushuang must know it's a trap. He has a deep affection for his father, so he will walk into it without hesitation even if he knows it. No one can stop him because it's related to his father's life. Damn it, this is so despicable. Despicable. It was indeed very despicable. Everyone knew that there was no justice in this world. The rule was that winner takes all. All the experts could say nothing, even though they saw through Blood Feather Tower's trap and contemptible behavior. In a secret chamber of the Raindrop Pavilion, Tang Wuji found Jian Wushuang and gave this invitation to him. The Raindrop Pavilion had become more famous in the Qianzong dynasty, so it also received a blood-red invitation. After he carefully read this invitation, Jian Wushuang threw it aside and sat alone, without saying a word. Boss, obviously, this invitation is a trap which is used to tempt you. Don't be impulsive, Tang Wuji said in a somewhat anxious voice. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He knew that it was a trap. However, this was something that he had to do even though he knew that he should not do it. Moreover, it was his father who would be put to death. His father gave him life, raised him, and taught him swordsmanship. In his mind, he was the most respectful father. A man should know what he can do and what he cannot. As a son, I would be unfilial if I ignored it while my father is killed. I'm upright. How can I be an unfilial man? Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. But boss. Tang Wuji wanted to say something, but Jian Wushuang directly interrupted him by waving his hand. Don't say anything. I've made up my mind. It's useless to try persuading me. Jian Wushuang glanced at Tang Wuji. Then he picked up this invitation and continued to read it. On the 18th of next month. I only have 1 month. 1 month. It's fine. Blood Feather Tower gave some time to prepare for it. Tang Wuji. Jian Wushuang looked at Tang Wuji. Boss, I'll do anything you order, Tang Wuji replied. Your Raindrop Pavilion is good at collecting information, so it should also be fast at spreading news. I want you to help me release some news. Please let all the people in Qianzong Dynasty know it as quickly as possible, okay? Jian Wushuang asked. No problem. Tang Wuji nodded seriously. Fine. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. Listen, this is what you should say. Jian Wushuang meditated for a while and then spoke slowly. His cold voice resounded through this secret chamber with a hint of killing intent. On the 18th of the 12th lunar month, there will be boundless white snow. At this time, demons and monsters will abound on the evil heartless island. The mountains will split asunder, the rivers will run dry, and the skies will be stained with blood as swords point towards the demon horde. If the heavens favor me, it would be fortunate. However, if the heavens oppose me, there will be death. With a sword in hand, I am invincible. Chapter 244. Unprecedented and Unparalleled Arrogance. On the 18th of the 12th lunar month, there will be boundless white snow. At this time, demons and monsters will abound on the evil heartless island. The mountains will split asunder, the rivers will run dry, and the skies will be stained with blood as swords point towards the demon horde. If the heavens favor me, it would be fortunate. However, if the heavens oppose me, there will be death. With a sword in hand, I am invincible. These words spread out from the Raindrop Pavilion and throughout the entire Qianzong dynasty in less than a day. Without exception, it shocked all of the top organizations in the Qianzong dynasty. Innumerable houses were also shocked by this information. In addition, when the young warriors heard, they burned with even more enthusiasm and their emotions surged forth. Ha ha, he's taking up the challenge, this Jian Wushuang. But, to say with a sword in hand, he is invincible. Jian Wushuang, he's serious and quite daring. Even though he knows it's impossible, he won't give up. This Jian Wushuang, he really lives up to his name, he really is unprecedentedly unparalleled. I find myself looking more and more forward to that gathering on the 18th of the 12th lunar month. Everywhere, the whole Qianzong dynasty was buzzing with discussions about this topic. The name Jian Wushuang had once again become a hot topic in the Qianzong dynasty. It was impossible to avoid it, and it was as if nothing else was talked about, to the extent that it even surpassed the divine transcendence of the Bloodfeather Tower Master, Qi Luosheng. As for the protagonist of this story, Jian Wushuang, his words began to spread from inside the Raindrop Pavilion. At this time, he had already arrived at an ordinary shop in the imperial palace of the Qianzong dynasty. Wang Yuan had once brought him to this shop. As Jian Wushuang stepped inside the shop, an attendant immediately came forward and invited him to the inner hall. Inside the inner hall, he saw a purple-robed middle-aged man, with a stocky stature. This purple-robed middle-aged man was Dan Ju. Mr. Dan Ju. Jian Wushuang had worked with Dan Ju before, so they already knew each other. Master Wushuang, the young master of my house has summoned me and asked me to remain here in case you needed something. Is there, perhaps, something I can help you with? Dan Ju said with a laugh. There is something. I would like to ask eldest brother Wang Yuan for help, Jian Wushuang said directly. As you wish, master. I'll pass your message on to our house's young master, Dan Ju said. I also need 2 infinite pure yang elixirs, Jian Wushuang said. Infinite pure yang elixirs, for breaking through to the yang void realm? Dan Ju stared for a moment, then nodded his head and said, even though infinite pure yang elixirs are of the highest quality, it's not rare in the alchemy school. If I mention the young master's name, I can get 2 of them without any difficulty. I'll pass the message to my house's young master immediately. I reckon that we'll get a response in a few days. A few days? That's good, I'll wait a few days, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. The same day, Dan Ju hastily relayed the information to the alchemy school. The alchemy school was situated deep in a mountain. On top of a giant mountain summit, Wang Yuan stood there with his hands behind his back. Dan Yi, clad in purple robes, stood behind him respectfully, waiting for his response. If the heavens favor me, it would be fortunate. However, if the heavens oppose me, there will be death. Ha ha, third brother certainly has spunk. Wang Yuan laughed loudly, with a gleam in his eye. Then he turned, glanced at Dan Yi, and said, in other words, on the 18th of next month, third brother will attack Heartless Island on his own? It seems so. Dan Yi nodded. Even though Bloodfeather Tower isn't important for much in the entire Nanyang continent, For him to challenge the entire Blood Feather Tower on his own, I'm afraid it would still be fairly difficult. Wang Yuan's eyes squinted, but shortly after he commanded, "Go find Third Elder immediately. Have him give you 2 infinite pure yang elixirs and deliver them to the Qianzong dynasty. Tell them it's my order. Also, give this message to Dan Ju. Make him tell Third Brother that on the 18th of the 12th lunar month, I'll be going to the Qianzong dynasty to help him." "All right." Dan Yi quickly responded and left immediately afterward. Wang Yuan stared off into space. "It's a shame. The relationship between my alchemy school and the Holy Emperor Palace is quite delicate right now. I can't directly use the power of the alchemy school to wipe out Blood Feather Tower. I can only depend on the alchemy guard I have trained, but second brother and fourth sister. Second brother, along with his master, Wine Master, came not long ago to ask my father for a purple fire body shaping elixir. Both he and Wine Master headed back towards that territory. I'm afraid that they'll be unable to quickly return to the Qianzong dynasty. However, shouldn't fourth sister show up?" Wang Yuan muttered to himself. 1 palace, 1 school, 3 valleys, and 4 temples, 8 sects, and an untold number of dynasties. Amongst the 3 valleys was the Ice Nether Valley. "Master." The maiden, Su Ru, clothed in black, arrived in front of a golden-robed man. This golden-robed man's clothes were luxurious and he had an outstanding complexion. On his face there was a smile that could make any person feel comfortable and at ease. At first glance, each and every aspect of this golden-robed man was nearly impeccable. "Ru, what is it?" Seeing Su Ru walk towards him, the golden-robed man had immediately came over. "I would like to go back to the Qianzong dynasty." Su Ru quietly opened her mouth and said, "Eh?" The golden-robed man's eyebrows lifted and he asked, "Is it because of those men you've become sworn brothers with?" "Yes." Su Ru nodded. The golden-robed man looked at Su Ru and immediately sensed a stubbornness in her eyes. The corners of his mouth lifted up and he said, "Go. Bring my bodyguards as well." "Thank you, Master," Su Ru said as she stood up abruptly in surprise. "Don't worry, because this is the last time. Once this is done, you will come back, and you won't take a single step away from my side for the following years. You will assist me with all your might. Do you understand?" The golden-robed man said without sympathy. "Yes," Su Ru answered, then gritted her teeth and nodded. Inside the Dragon Palace, the 2 palace masters sat facing each other, one black and one white. Are you sure you want to do this?" Palace Master Black looked at Palace Master White with a solemn look on his face. "I'm sure." Palace Master White had a look of determination in her eyes as she said, "That little fellow, Jian Wushuang, I've watched him grow ever since he entered Dragon Palace. I've always supported him in every way. He's the most exceptional genius in our Dragon Palace. For the meeting on the 18th, it's obvious that there will be traps directed at him. Our Dragon Palace must have people stand up and help him. Only in this way can we be qualified to call him our disciple." But Palace Master Black still wanted to say something. "There's no need to say anything, my mind is made up," Palace Master White replied and waved her hands. However, at that exact moment, at the edge of the hall, the palace doors suddenly opened and a golden imperial-robed man quickly rushed in. Seeing this man, Palace Masters Black and White were both startled, and they both quickly stood up and saluted. "Greetings, Your Majesty." "Both of you get up," said Di as he waved his hand and then wantonly sat down in an open seat. "I overheard everything you just said." Di lowered his voice and said, "Your Majesty." Palace Master White looked at Di with great anxiety. Then Di grinned and said, "I like it. Go ahead." "Eh?" Palace Masters Black and White were both flabbergasted. They both had originally thought Di would rebuke them, but who would have thought Di would unexpectedly support their decision? Jian Wushuang is the greatest genius of my Dragon Palace after all. For several reasons, my Dragon Palace is unable to protect him, but that doesn't mean there's nothing we can do, Di said with great solemnity. Palace Master White's expression changed, then she immediately nodded her head gravely and said, "Your subordinate understands." Chapter 245, Breakthrough to the Yang Void Realm. Having waited quietly in the store for 5 days, the infinite pure yang elixirs finally landed in Jian Wushuang's hands. Sir Wushuang, the young master said that he will be present at the gathering next month and give you a helping hand, Danju said. Please convey my gratitude to him, Jian Wushuang said with a smile before leaving. In a secret chamber, Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged. In his hand were the 2 purple gold elixirs, about the size of a baby's thumb. The infinite pure yang elixir contained boundless pure yang energy, which helped accelerate a warrior's breakthrough from a yin void champion to the yang void realm. Its efficiency was immeasurable, and if he was lucky, 1 elixir would be enough. There are as many experts in Blood Feather Tower as there are clouds in the sky. As for Qi Luosheng, the master of Blood Feather Tower, he is a supreme expert who has reached divine transcendence. There is no doubt that to fight against him is to seek death. Therefore, I have to greatly improve my strength within a month. Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted with a sharp light. There were many ways to improve his strength. However, it was impossible for him to expand his comprehension of the origin in such a short period. He could only count on improving his cultivation level, which was at the level of Yin Void Champion. 1 step further, and he would reach the Yang Void realm. Now, he had 2 infinite pure Yang elixirs. After taking a deep breath and calming down, Jian Wushuang swallowed both of the infinite pure Yang elixirs in 1 gulp. They immediately turned into a mighty pure Yang power and began circulating through his body. As the elixirs worked, more and more pure Yang power gathered. Rumble tilde, it was as if a torrent of floodwater was flowing throughout all of the meridians in his body. In an instant, Jian Wushuang felt like his bones were going to crack. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and sweat stood out on his forehead. Pure Yang power, as pure as it could be, flowed through his body. The pain caused by it was almost as bad as when he had used the soul-devouring secret skill. It's begun. Jian Wushuang was stone-faced. As the efficacy of the 2 infinite pure Yang elixirs increased to the utmost, the pure Yang energy reached its limit and formed a mighty torrent that lashed out against the barrier in his body. Bang! The first wave caused a muffled sound within his body. His face turned pale, but the barrier remained intact. Then a second wave of pure Yang energy followed. Bang! 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 5 impacts heavily struck the barrier in quick succession, causing it to vibrate slightly. However, it did not break. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang's face was quite pale, and blood flowed out of his mouth. After those 5 impacts, only less than 1/3 of the power of pure Yang in his body was left. Taking another deep breath, Jian Wushuang clenched his fists. Then, in the next moment, he launched a final attack with all the remaining pure Yang energy. The surging current lashed against the barrier once more. It will break. Jian Wushuang's face was twisted. Boom! The surging current crashed against the barrier. There was a terrible and explosive impact as the barrier shook fiercely, and then, click, a slight sound arose, causing a feeling of ecstasy within Jian Wushuang. A minute crack appeared, and this crack became like the ant nest that caused the destruction of a mighty dam. Rumble! The barrier finally collapsed, and then a vast spiritual power began flowing through his body. All of the meridians and bones in his body started to change, becoming thicker and more durable. Similarly, his spiritual power also began to transform. In such a short moment, he had completed the transformation. I reached the Yang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes in exultation. He knew how lucky he was to reach the Yang Void Realm this time. After all, he had improved so much in one go, previously, in the Ancestors' Land. Although he had reached the ultimate limit at the peak of the Yin Void Realm, he had not accumulated enough power. So, he assumed he would be stuck at that level for a long time. The odds of making a breakthrough were low, even with the help of the infinite pure Yang elixirs. However, he had made it. So lucky. 30% was due to the help of the treasure, 20% from his persistence, and the remaining 50% was pure luck. Compared with Yin Void, the Yang Void Realm is much stronger. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands, feeling the explosive power running through his palms. Once he reached the Yang Void Realm, his strength grew rapidly and his spiritual power improved substantially. Now, he could match up against an exceptional Yang Void Realm warrior with only his explosive power. Maybe he was a little weaker, but not by too much. To reach the Yang Void Realm before the gathering is lucky, but it's not enough. Jian Wushuang soon came down from his great joy. He knew he could not truly fight against a supreme expert who reached divine transcendence if his cultivation only reached the Yang Void Realm. He still had to make more preparations. With this done, he could begin looking for a way to making his secret weapon even stronger. His biggest trump card was the soul-devouring secret skill. Before, in the Eastermost hunt, he discovered that the first volume of the soul-devouring secret skill had done little to improve his strength. Therefore, he needed to comprehend the second volume as soon as possible. The soul-devouring secret skill was extremely powerful and would create a large disturbance, so he chose an isolated patch of woods in order to begin delving into the second volume of the soul-devouring secret skill. Half a month later, in the isolated woods, a terrible engulfing force swept out. It came from Jian Wushuang, who sat cross-legged on a stone. The vast natural power of all living things quickly gathered into his body. After a good while, everything quieted down. Jian Wushuang, sitting cross-legged on the stone, opened his eyes slowly with a smile. At long last, I have completely comprehended the second volume of soul-devouring secret skill in this half-month. The second volume was more powerful than the first, so it naturally placed a heavier burden on his body. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang's current power had increased by a wide margin and he could sustain this burden for a period of time. However, his body would still break down if he used it for too long. There are still a few days before the 18th of the 12th lunar month. During these last few days, I must try to improve the grade of the triple kill sword. While he was thinking about that, the triple kill sword appeared in his hands and leapt about with a whistling sound. And with that gravity-defying strike that bypassed physical mass entirely, we conclude Chapter 245. Wushuang has managed to wound Sovereign Atlas, but the black hole within the Sovereign has begun to leak, threatening to swallow the entire Abyssal Corridor. The Star Eater Rebellion is forced to make a tactical retreat, leaving Wushuang alone at the base of the Eclipse Pillar. The third and final Primal Sovereign, the Master of Time, is the only thing standing between Wushuang and his father. And the Divine Sovereign himself is finally watching from the summit. Join us next time for our 250 chapter milestone. In chapters 246 through 250, Wushuang enters the time dilation field for the ultimate rescue mission. Thank you for listening to Panda Audiobooks. If you're feeling the weight of this battle, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us, how will Wushuang beat an enemy who can control time?